Hey guys, Anthony 4x4 Diesel. This probably should be a quick video, just a little quick tech tip, little important bit of information, and it's just a quick solution if this happens to you. Now, we've done gazillions of these water pumps, really, you know, not really, whatever, what's a gazillion? Anyway, never had this issue before, but every now and then with parts, you just get the one in a gazillion. Okay, so there's a couple of things with a water pump. So if you get one of these, right, genuine Toyota box water pump. Sometimes you can see on the side, so there's a little bit of damage on the box there, but it's not coming through, so it's not too bad, right? But of course, there is steel in a cardboard box, so you can't. This is what we do, right? We see you unpack and check everything. Couple things that can happen. Okay, I'll get the box out of the way. This gasket is just sitting there, right? It's sort of wrapped with a bag. It can slide out of place a little bit, and the edges of the gasket's going to get a bit burred over. Now, in a lot of cases, you're not going to be using this gasket. You're just going to use the front of the water pump, as per what we've explained in our videos in the VIP group. And I'll just quickly mention, we won't mention that. It's going to make it too long. Sorry, I said I'll keep it short. I'm doing my best here. So, I'm not too fussed. If the gasket kind of moves a bit like that, and then that gets a bit bent, trust me, when you put it all back and just, you know, give it a bit of a manipulate back. Look, if it's really, you have to judge it. If it's really bad, then maybe we need another gasket. It's something that's a bit hard to control. I'm talking big numbers of these. Always used them, never had an issue. They're really good gaskets. They're going to flatten out when you clamp it down anyway. You're not going to have any issues. So that's one to not really worry about, is I suppose what I want to say. The other one is, there was one the other day that was quite bad, as in, look, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this one out of the bag. Sorry, it's going to take a sec, but, you know, all information, you know. So they've done a little twisty thing and everything to keep the gasket in place and all that, but doesn't always work out. So we'll get this out of the bag. Let's sit that gasket over there out of the way. And they've got the paper over there to protect the bolts, but it doesn't always work. And look at that, so there's that bit of sticky, gooey, you know, whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter, don't worry about that. Even a bit of surface rust there, Mr. Toyota. Ah, look at that, eh? Anyway, guys, don't worry about that, okay? It's not going to be an issue, but a bit surprising. Maybe they need a bit of a spray, some oily stuff, rust prevention coating. There's probably something like that on there already, although it doesn't feel like it. Now, what happened is, one of these, obviously at manufacture, got dropped, knocked quite hard. It got hit on the end of the bolt here, right? And what happened, the bolt was kind of like bent. Couldn't do a video at the time, sorry, you know, long story short. So I'm going to explain it to you, right? So one of these was bent. So we've got a couple of solutions for that, right? One is you can, you know, send it back and go get another one. That's cool, but I just want to say, you know how it's a pain when you know, you got something and, you know, it's like those Chinese cheap things at Bunnings where you get one and, you know, you just got to go back and swap it or take it back, or it didn't work out or it didn't fit, or it's just a time waster. If you don't want to waste time, that's easy. You're changing your water pump, you're taking the old one off, and there's going to be nothing wrong with these bolts with the old one. They just thread in, I don't know if you can see that, right? So there's a thread there. These just screw in and they're not usually that tight. You can get your multi-grips or something like that. I'm not going to mess around with this one too much. I'll grab something out that I use that's usually fairly grippy. I'll grab a small pair and I'll just show you. Let's just see. What I'm saying is you can grab it on the end, right? On the end, not on the thread. This is what you want to do, right? If you notice that and you go, oh, bugger, you've already got your old water pump off, or get it off. Sorry guys, see, I said it was going to be short, but it's the information, it's how long it takes, right? So you've got it off, or you're going to get it off. What you do is, to prevent damage to this thread, is get one of the nuts that you took off, put it on here, do it up as far as you can. That way it's down the thread. It's like when you're going to cut a bolt, that's what you do. And then you cut it off, and then you file your bevel around the edge, and then you take the nut off and it finally cleans it. I don't know if you didn't know that, but there you go. See, that's why you just watch the videos and you learn all this tips and information. And I know a lot of people already knew, and I know there's probably better ways even, but that's a really good way to do things, you know. So you put your nut on when you're going to cut a bolt, you cut it, then you file around the edge to get that sharp edge off and put a bit of a slight bevel on it, and then you take the nut off and it cleans that last bit of thread off usually, right? Not usually, every time I've ever done it. So with this one, you don't want to damage your thread, but just in case you do slip, put your nut on, then you should be able, don't do it up tight. Just put it down so it's down enough out of the way. Get something really grippy like your vice grips, and you should be able to grab that really tight. And I'm not going to really put too much pressure on this because it's a new one. Okay, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to put scratches on it, whatever, it's a new one, but you may need to get onto it. I do notice sometimes when we take these off vehicles, when you're undoing the nut, the whole stud comes out. So it just goes to show that if by over tightening the nut and then you go to undo it, that comes out. They can't be that hard to get out, do you know what I mean? So that's what I find. What we might do is, not in this video, at a later date, we've got some old water pumps sitting there at the moment. We might do a video, we'll get to those, and we'll take a whole heap of them off in a video. We'll make it go for about 20 minutes, and we'll go through a whole heap of different ways to get those out. What I'm trying to point out is, yeah, it's 1 in 1,000, probably less. Never seen it before except this one. If the box has been dropped or something that's ripped through the side, then obviously, it's probably someone's fault since factory. But the one I'm talking about, the particular box, no holes in the box or anything like that. So I believe it was probably, dropped or banged quite hard, from factory, from manufacturing, whatever. Aizen, because that's the brand, right? Just in case you didn't know, Toyota, but Aizen, right? So anyway, and as I said in other videos, the ones we use and supply are sometimes in Toyota boxes, sometimes direct from them, because it depends what stock's available and what we want to pay and all that sort of thing. So not a lot of difference in the price. Sometimes the availability. When you go through a lot of something, you need to get them from different places when they're available, especially with COVID-19. Anyway, I said I'd keep it short. I think that ticks the boxes for the gasket. We get it out, we check it, we make sure it's lined up, we pack it all really neatly if we're going to send it to you, if you're one of our friends that needs one of those parts kits. So make sure it gets to you best possible. But you can just check it out. Don't worry about the gasket too much. Don't worry about the studs too much. The other thing is, just because if it's hit on the end, right, that could be burred off, whatever, that end there is quite a lot smaller than the thread, is what I'm trying to say as well, right? So it's a lot smaller there. So even if it's bent, if that nut starts, right, so let's say it's bent on towards the end, you might not even need to change it. If that nut starts, by the time it goes down, it's going to be square and flush, and when you nip it up, it's going to pull tight. So I'm not even worried about it if it has been hit. The only reason I'm doing this video, just like that time, if you didn't see the video, there was one injector seat. They come with the injectors. They're in the same, they're a bag within the bag. One of the injector seats got a tiny little bit of damage on it. I'm not too worried about those because they're copper, they're soft, they squash, they seal. It's only very minor damage, but I was just mentioning it in case you're worried about it, to obviously put your mind at ease if it's not too bad, or some solutions. Of course, we can send things back and change them over, as I said, but sometimes it's just easier to have your own solution and go, oh, it's damaged, but we'll just put that on. Oh, look, it works anyway, so don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Mental note, just letting you know what's going on there. So the gasket, really, don't worry about it unless you've got some massive damage going on. And I suppose that's why we've got a few of these spare. We do keep a few of the back gaskets spare off the vehicles where we don't. So guys, if you are one of those people that needs to replace the water pump and you just do the front section, keep your back section spare and the gasket spare. I suppose one day if it starts happening to a lot of these gaskets and we need one and we haven't got enough in stock, we'll put a call out in the VIP group and say, hey guys, has anyone got one of those gaskets back of the water pump spare? And we'll just get you to pack it into a bit of cardboard and send it off direct to someone, and we can give you some cash for it if you need to. But just about helping each other out. If small problems, small things. Probably never going to see this again, this issue. I just thought I'd mention it, guys, because, sometimes for some people, let's double that up. It's panic stations. Let's quadruple it up, actually, Sometimes people worry about things. I'm just trying to say, don't worry about small things. Let's have a think about it. Let me know, and I'll give you my advice, no problem. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe, turn that bell on so you don't miss the next important bit of information like that and those few tips. If you like that one, give us a thumbs up, and I'll be looking in the comments. Have you had a damage or bird stud on the end of that water pump? All right, guys, thanks for watching. See ya.